Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're older, why don't you come over and go back in time with me? 90s babies nostalgia.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica, and this is 90s Babies Nostalgia. We're two fully grown millennials rewatch and sometimes watch for the first time iconic tween entertainment from the early 2000s.
Just to be clear, we are not sponsored by nor affiliated with any of the actors, brands, shows, anything that we are talking about unless otherwise disclosed. We just really like talking about TV. And today, the TV that we're talking about is The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Season 2, Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
In this group, we're going to be talking about episodes that we felt were super important to talk about in one way or the other. From the middle portion of this series, it's roughly episodes like 14 to 26, but we're not talking about all of those episodes. It'll be in the show notes exactly which ones that we are in case you want to pause, go watch them, come back. Podcasts are forever. We will still be around for you later. But before we get into this, Jessica, what have you been enjoying lately?
Well, one of our ins, we did a kind of jokey / serious in and out for the pod for 2024, and one of our ins was gay. And so I have a fitting what I've been enjoying, which is Green Day put out a new album called Saviors. It's their 14th album, but specifically I want to shout out one single on it, which is the most recent single, Bobby Socks, which is a bi anthem. We all know Billy Joel is our bi king. He came out in 95.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he came out in 1995, and he was like one of the first like men, especially in that scene and in the public eye, to like come out in that manner. He really is like looked up to as a like a bi idol because of this, and a bi icon.
Okay, I have a very lax relationship with Green Day, but let me go listen to every single album.
Yeah, but
and buy tickets to their current tour.
Yeah, one, you should go see them live. They are phenomenal live, like so good. But yes, go listen to their music, but also go give Bobby Socks a listen. It's such a fun little bi song. So
I'm jealous of the people who have tickets to their current tour, because I know from you that they're a great band to see live, but I feel like they often do stadium tours, as they should. They're icons, but I know right now they're doing a little bit more of an intimate tour as part of this album promo, because they performed recently at Irving Plaza, which is like a ballroom with a bar and one balcony, where it's the venue where I saw Hayley Kiyoko, and they're usually more Hayley Kiyoko range artists, even lower. Like, she had people lined up around the block. So to see Green Day in a venue like that, I was shocked that they even went there. Very jealous that people got to go.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. I still have to say, when I saw them, it was sold out Dodger Stadium, 55,000 people, and he still had every single person's attention on him. So like, regardless of if you see them intimate or not, it still feels intimate because his like stage presence is so like
captivating
and just like large, that it doesn't really matter how many people are there.
Yeah, I believe it.
How about you?
I was gonna say, are you gonna ask me?
Yeah.
I have a book recommendation. Look at us both back on our normal shit. You're recommending music. I'm recommending a book. Back on our hobbies. I just finished it last night. It's called The Storm We Made. Sorry, I misspoke. The Storm We Made, by Vanessa Chan.
Gorgeous cover.
It is the most stunning cover I've seen in a while. And when people say don't judge a book by its cover, like I do, because you know what? There's way too many books being published these days. And no, I'm not going to buy a book for a pretty cover, but I'm not even going to pick up the book to read the copy if it doesn't have a pretty cover.
Yep.
This one I had to buy for my book club, but I would have bought it anyway. It's historical fiction. It takes place with, it's not as complicated as it sounds. There is two timelines and 4 POVs. There's one of the timelines is 1936 Malaysia, when the Japanese are just starting to infiltrate what is British controlled Malaysia, and it follows this woman named Cecily, who is a young mother getting to know a Japanese general. And then the other timeline is late 1945, when the British are taking Malaysia back at the end of World War II, and it follows Cecily's 3 children and the ways that they are impacted by the war. And it's like 345 pages, but I swear the first couple hundred pages I read in like a couple of days, which is very strange for me. It was captivating and nuanced, and there's not a single morally right character in the whole book, which I love. So if any of that sounds interesting to you guys, I'm a history nerd as well. So all of that combined, and it's just like, I know quite a bit about World War II and a fair bit about Japanese occupation, but not from the context of Malaysia. And the author is from Malaysia, and part of this was inspired by some stories from her grandmother who lived through a lot of this. So it's just really well done. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, now I know, guys, we're getting into this, but before we get into this, I have said in some clips that we have posted on socials, I have a lot of opinions on this. I do. And we have a lot of friends who have wanted us to watch Sweet Life because it is one of the more known shows, right? For our generations, for our demographics. Please, if you have thoughts on any of this, let us know, because I have so many thoughts, and it's one thing to share them with Jessica, but I need people, whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, I need people to comment anywhere, YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or even Twitter. Sometimes I'm on there. Just like tell us, because what is this show?
Yeah. It covers like a lot of big topics in a way that I wasn't expecting, but also maybe in a way that didn't need to be done.
Oh my God, that's so perfect. Like, I keep thinking this as the most intentionally political show we've seen, and that's including That's So Raven, which is actually saying something, yet also the most problematic show we've seen. And oftentimes those two coincide in the same episode.
Yeah, it's like conflicting because you're like, oh, I like that this got brought up, but I don't like the way that it was written, and I don't like the way that it was then brought to screen.
Yeah, it's so weird. But with that said, let's get into it with episode 15, The Sweet Smell of Excess.
The boys want to go bungee jumping. Carrie's like, not today. You're going to hurt yourself. That is dangerous. So naturally, they decide to play hockey in the lobby, as you do. They shoot a hockey puck into Mr. Mosby's mouth. Not really important, but wanted to note it because it was wild. They're basically like going around the lobby just bored as shit. And they're like, can someone please play with us? But everyone has jobs and are busy because they're working in a hotel. And so Arwen's like, you know what? I have this secret invention. Come down to my office. And it's called the PU. And it's this machine that can transport you to other worlds. And it only works when there's lightning. And there's lightning. And he's like, I want to test it out, but I have to go use the restroom real quick. So while he's in the restroom, Zach's like, let's try to use it. We don't need to wait for Arwen. And so Cody goes along with it. He hits a lever. Everything's kind of shaking. They fall over. Oh, also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's like a phone booth.
Yeah, it's giving TARDIS on a budget.
Yeah.
I also want to point out, it's not other worlds like alien worlds. It's other dimensions of our world.
Yes, correct. So they're in like an alternate dimension, and everything is like opposite. Mr. Mosby is super chill and a little wild. Maddie and London switch places. We're now at the Fitzpatrick, and Maddie is the heir, and London is the candy girl. Carrie's like a cool mom, and she's like, You boys stay at home. I'm leaving for the night. I might not be back tonight. Might be back in the morning. Not sure. Gonna go dye my hair blue. Um,
Mood.
yeah. Everything is like backwards. Also, Carrie at one point is like, I'm gonna leave for an entire year. You boys will be fine, right? And gives them like a giant bowl of candy to eat. And she's leaving to go promote her CD. And this is where we see that Arwen is named AD for A Diddy and is her manager, but also like her boyfriend, I think. And
Mm-mm,
she's like,
mm-mm. She's
no.
into him, but he's like, baby, play it cool. Like, I've already told you this can't work between us.
Mm.
It's the opposite to their actual relationship.
Yeah. And in this world, Zach and Cody learn that having nothing but fun isn't that fun. And so there's lightning outside, and they're like, we need to get back to the Tipton, but it's not working. And then they're like, oh, when we first went, Cody, you fell on this lever. So let's do it again, but you need to fall on the lever. So naturally, Zach pushes him onto the lever.
I don't think so. I'm sorry. You said there's lightning outside. I think you forgot the part where that meant something to them because they thought, oh, the machine worked when there was lightning. That must be how it works.
Yeah, I said in the beginning that Arwen mentioned,
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry,
that it
short-term
only
memory
works
working.
when there's lightning. And they get transported back to the Tipton. Arwen is finally back from the bathroom, and they're like, your machine works. We went to this crazy world. Mom was in love with you. And Arwen's like, what? I need to get to that dimension. And they are just excited to be running around the hotel and saying hi to everyone and having everyone return to normal. And Carrie's kind of like, this was a dream. Like, they tell her what happened, and she's like, no. You guys dreamed. It's just your twin telepathy. And they're like, okay, sure, yes, it is our twin telepathy.
Until they find the George Clooney quarter in Zach's pocket.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
B plot. It's one sentence says it all. I didn't take a single note on that plot. Maddie is breaking in London's shoes for her for $100. That's it. Our notes. You wrote, I remember this one. I didn't really, but I wasn't surprised by it like I was by some others.
Yeah, no, I really remember this one. I don't think it was like on the repeats as strong as some of the ones we've talked about and are going to talk about, but I definitely do remember watching this one a few times.
So Arwen, we've seen in his den lair have a photograph of Carrie before, already creepy enough, but it's like her stage photo for her shows. Now he has an entire cardboard cutout of Carrie that he's talking to when the boys go into his office.
Yeah, because he's trying to practice, because he's like, I freeze up when I try to ask your actual mom on a date, so I've been trying to practice. But then he's like, but I keep getting lost in her eyes. And it's a piece of cardboard. I didn't love that. It was gross.
Where did he get it from? Also, Carrie is very well aware of his feelings. They've even kissed in the episode after this, not for a romantic reason.
Oh.
Not an episode we're going to talk about for reasons. But like, she's aware and has continued to reject him. All the practice in the world cannot change her feelings. Even though, why do I feel like they do get together by the time it's Sweet Life on Deck?
Low-key, that could happen, but honestly, like, once we get to Sweet Life on Deck, I have to be honest, I think I've seen maybe 3 episodes of that show.
Oh, I've seen a lot of it because I was still watching Disney Channel. Like, I know Bob and Barbara are together as a cameo in Sweet Life on Deck.
I feel like at that point, I wasn't not watching Disney, but I wasn't actively watching it, so I was choosy about what ones I was watching. Like, if Good Luck Charlie was on, I was watching that. But if Sweet Life on Deck was on, I was like, yeah, I could skip.
Yeah, we had opposite, I think. Jess was a Good Luck Charlie girl, and that was maybe the first show where I was like, if I was already watching Disney Channel and it was going to have a new episode, I was going to watch it, but I wasn't adamant about watching it all. I didn't really care as much. But anyway, that's a story for another time. There's some interesting parallel universe versions of the characters. The Tipton looks the same. Everyone more or less looks the same, but their personalities are flipped, which means that uptight, proper Mr. Mosby is how would you describe Mr. Mosby
Currently or in this new universe?
in the new universe?
He's very chill. He doesn't have a lot of cares in the world. He wants to have lots of fun. And the language choice is like, I don't even know how to say it.
It's stereotypical.
Yeah, it's very like stereotypical.
It's like it's not quite gangster.
No, I was gonna say hood, but also I don't know if that's the right term to use, but it is kind of like stereotypical.
It's what they think black slang is like,
Is.
but
Yeah.
not quite to the point of like quote unquote gangster, because it's not, there's no like violence or swearing. It's Disney Channel, and he's still the manager of the Tipton or the Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very like, yo, 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 what up, my homies?
And I think he says faux shizzle
I think he
at
does.
one point. Yeah, it's very like using that sort of language, which I just like. I understand the opposite world of it all. And where I think that they nailed it was like London and Maddie, which watching that, I was like, this is amazing knowing they both tried out for both characters.
I had the same thought.
Because it really made sense. You watch them switch and you were like, oh yeah, they could play each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like it made sense in this new universe. But Mr. Mosby, it didn't really make sense. It just felt like they were like, oh, what would like a cool black manager be? Let's let him use this stereotypical language instead of maybe like pulling in other like character traits that would make him different.
If anything, he could have been more like surfer style of lax, right?
Yeah.
Of just like, what up, dude? Like, whatever. I don't know. They do this repeatedly with Mosby's character. They've done it in previous episodes we've talked about where there was the flashback to old Mosby, to like Motown Mosby, and they do it in upcoming episodes. And I kind of want to almost look and see if Phil Lewis has ever talked about this. To my knowledge, she hasn't, just because it's just, it feels lazy to me. But if the actor didn't care, then that changes the discussion a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It feels lazy, and it's also like how much influence were the actors allowed to have?
100%.
Because right, we have now seen some interviews come out where like they have pushed back. You know, Zach and Cody, Cole and Dylan open up about pushing back about certain parts of the script, as well as Kim Rhodes has opened up about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in very particular instances, and it doesn't sound like it was very well received from the producers at the time. So it's like maybe these things were brought up, and it kind of was like, well, it's what was written. It's what we want to see.
And something I find interesting is I've looked up the two creators of The Sweet Life. I don't remember their names off the top of my head. I don't care. One of them was heavily involved, either producer or writer or both, on Smart Guy, the Taj Mowry sitcom, but where he plays like a protege. But aside from that, both of them pretty much only known for doing Sweet Life and Sweet Life on Deck, both series. Like they've had a production company that's just about that. And there are other writers that pop in for episodes, but it doesn't seem like it's super frequent or intentional. So that's just something I'm like keeping in mind the more we watch and the more I consider these choices that they've made.
Yeah, like maybe we needed more writers in the writer room. Because we saw that, I know we noted it in some episodes with Raven, but I know Raven actually did that a lot where it had like the main writers, but for certain episodes, like the Black History episode and things like that, they would pull in specific writers. And I think it translated in a better product.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of another very interesting choice, so you wrote Estebanita as the maid is giving, because that is the other alternate universe choice. One of them is that Esteban is now a maid, and a female maid at that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I thought that she was giving. Like, I just loved Estebanita.
I enjoyed her, but I didn't enjoy the origin of her because
Yeah.
in the B plot, briefly before the whole alternate universe when Maddie's wearing the uncomfortable shoes, I don't remember how it comes up, but Esteban makes a problematic comment about women, and Maddie says something like, I bet you think women belong in the kitchen too. And he says, unironically, like very genuinely, when they aren't shopping for groceries. So canonically, Esteban is sexist. So in the alternate universe, he's a woman. I love Esteban personally, although he is a very racist caricature. He's great comedic relief when he is not being portrayed super awful, but that
He
part,
might be one of the better actors on the
yes,
show.
love the actor. That's really what I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But that part, I was like, why? Why are we making this very nice man sexist?
Why do we make any of the choices about his character? That I know we are saving for our like bonus episode that we'll do at the end of Sweet Life. We're going to deep dive into Esteban's lore. But there are a lot of interesting choices, including this. Like they throw in so many things. You're like, oh, might as well make him sexist too. And it's like, what?
Most of the things, though, I can identify as being racist.
Yeah.
This, I'm like, little racist if we're getting into like machismo, but it's not. Anyway, we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, something I did not like is in this parallel universe, London like flirts with Zack and is like sweet thing and like winks at him. And like, I don't like it when Zack and Cody hit on Maddie in London or older women. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable in That's So Raven with Corey's character. It makes me even more uncomfortable when it's opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just don't need that. We don't need that. Have them flirt with people their own age.
Like, why, if it's the point of opposite, why isn't it Maddie flirting on him?
Yeah, and I get it because Maddie and London switch spaces, but yes, it's still weird.
You wrote, how does cotton candy get stuck on the couch? I didn't catch that part.
I don't remember who it is, but they're sitting on the couch, they're eating cotton candy, and then it like falls, and then they're like, oh my god, the cotton candy got stuck. And like, I don't, like, sure, it's sugary, and like as it starts to melt, it like melts in your fingers because of the heat and can get a little sticky, but it's not getting stuck to fabric unless like there is sun shining and you let it like melt in the sunshine on the fabric of the couch, which is not what happened. So that was weird to me because I'm like, they could have picked other things, caramel sauce, like actual things that would get sticky and stuck on a couch, but they picked cotton candy.
You could just throw water on it and it would dissolve.
Yeah. Carrie goes to the grocery store, and then the boys are like, why were you gone for so long? And she is like, sorry, it would have been a 10-minute trip, but it turned into a 20-minute trip because I couldn't decide between 1-ply or 2-ply toilet paper. 2 parts. One, why is she even buying toilet paper? Like, I'm sure part of her contract is housekeeping service, so you think they would provide that for her?
That's true. We've seen housekeepers in the suite.
Yeah, so that was weird to me. But also, like, Carrie, you are a full, like, fledged adult. You have 12, 13-year-old boys. Are they? Yeah.
They're 13 at this point, I think.
Yeah. You have 13-year-old boys at this point. You know that you never buy 1-ply. You learn that the first time you buy 1-ply toilet paper and take it home and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. Why didn't anyone teach me that you, like, toilet paper is something you splurge on and buy the nicer stuff? Like, you just would know. She's an adult. She knows not to buy 1-ply.
I feel like you don't even ever have to buy single ply to know not to buy single ply. Because from the minute you're 5 years old and you first use a park restroom, you know the single ply is not the way to go. You know the difference between a public restroom toilet paper and an at-home toilet paper, and it is not the cheap stuff.
Sure. Inherently, I know, as someone with an autistic sibling, the first time they had to buy toilet paper on their own, I got a very angry call on why did I not tell them that you're supposed to buy the more expensive toilet paper. So I feel like, you know, for some people it's a learning lesson. For some people it's inherent when you have the like public restroom at the park scenario. But like, you are a woman in your late 30s, 40s, like, you know, it does not take you 10 minutes to decide between 1-ply or 2-ply. Come on.
Yeah. George Clooney is on the quarter, part of the alternate reality. Paris Hilton is also president. Those are a
Yeah.
couple of my notes. I have quotes about the Paris Hilton one. We'll get to that in a second. Also, Jess, did you immediately think about the Fall Out Boy album when she tried to explain this as Folie à Deux?
No, I didn't even. No.
Didn't connect? Because that's what Carrie says, like, oh, it's your twin telepathy. They have a name for it. It's called Folie à Deux or do or whatever. It's fucking French, guys. Don't roast me about the pronunciation. And it is a psychological theory of, it's not just twin telepathy. It is about two people having the same hallucination, auditory or visual.
Mm-hmm.
And deux meaning two, it can be folie à trois or whatever if there's multiple people. And folie à deux is their 2008 album from, like, I think it's their fourth album or something. I don't think there's any really notable songs from it, but I know that it's a song. It's an album. Jess is so mad at me for saying that.
I Don't Care and America's Sweethearts are on it.
I don't know those songs.
I Don't Care was like a huge radio single.
I might know it if I heard it.
Okay.
Either way, I knew that album title, and so when she said it, I was like, "Oh, it's the Fall Out Boy album."
That did not pop into my brain, but I also watched These Very Sick, so that's probably why.
Yeah, guys, we're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
So, quotes?
Zack and Cody are asked some sort of question about the future. I don't remember specifically what. And Cody goes, I'm thinking Harvard Law School, and Zack's thinking San Quentin. And this is like a reoccurring bit where, like, Cody's going to college, most likely a prestigious college, and Zack's going to end up in prison. And though I don't, like, love, if you really think about it, a lot of the implications of this, but I do think as, like, a low-level joke, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Like, should I be supporting it? No. Do I enjoy it? Yes.
Yeah.
And then I have two quotes that are both from the radio, which they overhear in Arwen's office when they are in the alternate reality. They are both about Paris Hilton, the president. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I hate both of them, but make your own judgments. Maybe I should have told you that afterwards. President Paris Hilton announced that cellulite is now illegal. And President Paris Hilton made it illegal to weigh more than 108 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. Guess I'm moving. Like, just felt very unnecessary. And like, you're making digs at an actress, or, well, she is an actress, but at a celebrity who you have intentionally parodied in a main character for this entire show. I think you owe her more respect than that.
1,000%. Also, like, why is our writing always aiming so low at body comments?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Okay, speaking of writing that aims high and low at the same time, episode 17, Boston Tea Party, aka the episode where Amanda lost her mind a little bit.
The twins learn their favorite park is getting paved over. So they go home, they're upset about the park, and Carrie's like, fight for what you believe in, fight for the park. And so Cody's like, you know what? I'm going to do that. And he goes and writes an 18-page letter, single-spaced, to the mayor about the park. Zach's kind of like, yeah, whatever. Then Arwen finds a bunch of stuff somewhere, I don't know, in storage.
In the basement?
Yeah. And he brings it out to the lobby, and there's this painting of the Boston Tea Party, which has the original, and it's them deciding to do the Boston Tea Party. And it has the original Tipton in the background.
Mm-hmm. Founded by London's ancestors. We cut to Cody is reading his letter to Zack, and Zack falls asleep and is transported to a dream in colonial Boston, where we get tidbits like corsets are out, but don't you dare show those ankles, and everyone's wearing powdered wigs. And I question substantially this historical accuracy of these costumes, but I also could not be bothered to look it up because it's not the point, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
While they are in colonial Boston, Tipton Inn, we learn that the taxes are rising, and then Esteban runs in and says, hey, the people are revolting, and they talk about potentially joining this revolution in the inn, and Mosby's like, Lord Tipton and King George, they're best friends, let's not talk about this. He walks off and they're like, let's talk about it a little bit quieter. And so they make a plan, and cut to them in the park making headdresses to disguise themselves. while they talk about the fact that only men can vote, and someday this will be a country that ranges from sea to sea. Then we don't see the actual revolution. We know Zack does. He was ambiguous in the real time and in the dream, but then he found out chocolate has a higher tax too, and he was like, "All right, I'm a join."
Mm-hmm.
Cut to them all running into the Tipton Inn in full headdress, face paint, these like quote unquote Native American dresses that are sack dresses, and the town crier comes in and says they won the revolution. Carrie wakes up. Zack wakes up. Carrie says it was all a dream. And oh no, yeah, Carrie says it was a dream while they were in the dream. Sorry. And
Mm-hmm.
then Bob's like, yeah, next time, could you dream of me doing something cool? Because he's dressed as a little Bo Peep in this
Mm-hmm.
suddenly. And this is how Zack wakes up.
So Zach wakes up. Cody's back from the mayor's office. He just read them his 18-page letter and he's feeling pretty defeated. And Zach's like, nope, we can fight back because the tree in the painting is a historical landmark because it's where they decided that they were going to do the Boston Tea Party. So they can't tear it down. And so then they all go lie down in front of the bulldozers. They're like starting them up. And then Mr. Mosby comes running in and he's like, I got the injunction. The park will be saved. And then the construction people load out of there and they get their park back.
B plot, Esteban's taking his United States citizenship test and he passes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
I did not remember this episode at all.
Oh, I knew they had a Boston Tea Party episode.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to point out your silly little note before that?
Sure. In the beginning, we see Arwen in the lobby with a ball of yarn. Lord knows why. He's like loosely playing with it. And by the end, after the dream and everything comes to fruition, like Arwen has fully tangled his entire body in a ball of yarn.
It's very Arwen of him.
Yep.
It's giving paved paradise and put up a parking lot. I don't know why, but I feel like the aughts, they were really about teaching us civil disobedience, and this particularly involved children sitting in or chaining themselves to trees.
Yeah.
We got an episode like that in Raven.
Yeah. With Chelsea.
Yeah, in the final season, I believe. And I can't recall what other shows, but I know that I have seen so many shows where kids sit in trees so that they don't get cut down. You can shout out which ones they are in the comments or wherever. Let me know, because I'm not crazy. I know that that happens. I mean, I am a little crazy, but I also know that that happens.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the teaching of civil disobedience, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I also like the teaching of like, if you are upset or angry about something that's happening in your community, like you do have the ability to speak up about it. Yeah, I think that there are like some good lessons in this.
She's chuckling because, right, then we have to get into how it happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the civil disobedience, let's just talk about it. I was watching this while going through a bunch of episodes, and my note on this was, I went to wash my hands and come back and they're all in headdresses. What the fuck happened? So they're wearing, it's a bunch of non-native people. Not a single person in there is native. They're wearing headdresses. They're wearing face paint that is really more like sports face paint. They're wearing these dresses and moccasins. They're referring to Native Americans as Indians.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think, Jess?
I think it's the part where like, this is going to sound really terrible, and I know it is terrible. I could see past that because this is what they did during the Boston Tea Party.
So I didn't know that.
Oh.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Like literally we had like lessons in it in, I swear, like 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and we had to do a play and everyone was forced to participate. And the play was problematic as fuck.
Oh, we went to different middle schools.
I think the play was in elementary school. I think it was 5th grade, but yeah.
We also went to different elementary schools.
Yeah. But I did know that this was at least historically accurate to an extent. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I did know that this is what happened during the Boston Tea Party.
See, I wrote A, B, and C in our notes as subpoints to this, and C was going to be this isn't what happened, and then I was like, let me fact check that. This is what happened. I didn't know that. I'm sure that I've learned about it. I took AP US history, but I blacked that out, and because mostly the point of it is taxes were high, they threw the tea in the harbor, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it is something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is a children's show. Children do not know that it happened. I did not even know that it happened at my ripe, almost 30 years of age. And also them referring to Native Americans as Indians, one could argue historically accurate. Another one could argue we just talked about an episode where they teleported themselves to another dimension. Also, they're talking about corsets and wigs. Also, an Asian girl is the heiress of colonial Boston. Like, there's so many things about this that aren't historically accurate that I don't think that that part needed to be portrayed.
I do think that the age of a child watching this is around the age that you learn about the Boston Tea Party.
It depends on your school. Education is state per state, county per county.
But yeah, I think that like people didn't know this. And if it's historical, should we just completely disclude it? But like, is there ways to like change the language and improve upon the story or talk about like maybe things that are problematic with like choosing to dress up as Native Americans as a disguise? But none of that was ever talked about, you know? It is an outdated retelling of the story.
Yes. And like we talk about the body comments, is it realistic that they would have said Indians? Yes. Does that normalize it for the kids watching it? Also, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think that the quote unquote accuracy of the portrayal in this instance was worthwhile. If this were an aged up show, maybe. But again, this is a show where they're talking about corsets and giant powdered wigs in colonial Boston. And like, you know, there's just so many falsehoods already that felt like the point where accuracy wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, because then but also it's like at that point, then don't even include the Boston Tea Party of it all and like change this into like an activism episode using a completely different plot device to get there.
Or even, you know, it's not like the Boston Tea Party actually was planned at a place called the Tipton Inn. So why can that be changed, but not the headdress part? I think that it can be inspired by the Boston Tea Party. They could have included the throwing stuff into the harbor part, which they only mentioned but didn't portray, as opposed to the makeup and costume part.
Sure. I think that if you change it, then also you're doing a wrong hood because you're then sugarcoating it or making it seem like they did a better thing than what they really did. So I think that like if you're going to include it at all, include it, but touch on important things or just don't include it.
But I think the way that they portrayed it is making it look like they did a better thing than they did. Because they're making it look like the thing they did is better than it was.
Yeah. Fair.
Also, when they come back to the Tipton in their costumes, London screams, Indian attack! And then everyone ducks down like they're afraid. So it is not just wearing the headdress and calling them Indians, but then it's also this perpetuation of Native Americans being something to fear.
Yeah, it continues throughout the episode.
Yeah,
they don't just keep it in the one part. This whole episode is unfortunate, really. I think that we could have, as seen with Raven, we could have told the same story better.
Yeah.
Without racism, without all of this stuff.
And also in that, Esteban's accent, a recurring gag in this, in both the dream and in real life, is he says taxes, but they think he's saying Texas. And he goes, that's what I said. And it's just like, why?
Yep.
Yeah, I also, this is so small, but Carrie has Kim Rhodes clearly has a sore throat in this episode. She's like speaking with a hoarse throat, but it's not mentioned that she's sick, and it is mentioned that she's going to rehearsal. And I'm like, can we let this woman rest?
Yeah. Literally.
Did she need to be in this episode, or could she have been like bedridden for it?
Yeah. Yeah.
B plot London doesn't know there's a $1 bill.
Mm-hmm.
That's my one note.
Mm-hmm. Very true. You have a lot of Zacks, a lot of quotes is what I meant. But I read
Oh
Zack.
yeah, I know. I had a lot to say about this episode. I had a lot of bad writing issues, but you know what it really went in on was the puns.
Yeah.
So Esteban runs into the Tipton and he says, "The people are revolting." And Lennon says, "You're telling me. Have you seen how they dress?" Carrie says that they have to study for their American history test. And Zack says, "Mother, there is no history. Yesterday we got off the boat and today we bathed in a river." And then, and why did they write this? In colonial Boston, Maddie is talking about getting a horse and carriage, and then she switches from her like fake colonial accent to, "I'm like getting my license like this year." Like full Valley girl. And then Esteban says, "She's a Valley Forge girl."
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
No, and it doesn't really, you writing it and now like retelling it lands better than how it landed in the episode. Like I would say it is kind of lost because it's so out of place.
I even looked at Valley Forge because I didn't remember where it was. I mostly know the name from Hamilton. Like I know it's part of the Revolution and shit, but like it's in like Pennsylvania. It makes no sense.
Oh, it's not even near Boston. Okay.
Well, it wouldn't. Yeah, they just said like anyway. At one point, they say, "Give me liberty or give me death," and Zack says, "Is there a third choice?"
Yeah, I liked that. That was funny.
And then there's this fun thing about voting and Esteban talking about fighting for the right to vote, and Cody says, "Can Zack and I vote?" "No, you're only kids." And then Carrie says, "Can Maddie and I vote?" "No, you're only women. So who can vote?" "Those who are qualified to. Me and Arwen." And then you see Arwen like being a silly, goofy guy. Which, you know, again, they do these weird episodes where it's like politically making good points and also bad ones at the same time.
Yeah. It's again with like, we could have gotten here. I will keep bringing this up, but it's like, we could have told this story. We have told this story. Disney has told this story and has done it right. But like, we've chosen to tell this story, but do it in this way. And we didn't need to do that.
Yep. And moving on.
Okay. Have a nice trip. Episode 18. Apparently, our guest stars, we have Samantha Hanratty as Holly, who was in Yellow Jackets.
She's done a million things. She's been in a lot of the series that would be featured on our show. She's also been in a lot of other series that I have never seen, nor some even heard of. But primarily, she is young Misty in Yellow Jackets. She is a main character in Yellow Jackets and is known for her fucking batshit crazy performance.
Okay.
So the A-plot. Zack's looking for his skateboard. So, of course, a guest trips over it in the lobby and hurts his back. And Mosby's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. What can I do?" And he's like, "Well, like a nicer room would be great." So they get a free upgrade. Then the man's daughter, Holly, runs into the boys in the arcade or game room, whatever you want. It's a small arcade. Never seen a hotel with a fucking arcade, but sure. And she's like, "Oh my God, I don't know how to play this game. Can you teach me?" And Zack, so he's teaching her, and they're paying, but she's like losing and running out of money. And she like, at first she bets like a little bit, and then she keeps losing. But then she's like, "What about we like double all the money that you've lent me so far if I win?" Or they owe her, whatever, you know, it's fucking double or nothing kind of shit. And then suddenly she whoops his ass. And they're like, did we just get had? Did we just get played? And then we also see her at the candy counter doing the same shit to Maddie with a little card game where suddenly she clears out all the candy bars. We also see her mention to someone that she's selling them Wilderness Scout cookies. And Zack and Cody are getting on this train that like maybe Holly and her dad maybe they're lying because Zach really is pretty sure that he didn't leave his skateboard in the lobby. And so he and Cody do their shit, get in the vents to watch Holly and her dad in their room, where they see her run in and tell her dad, like, just sold some more Wilderness Scout cookies that are never gonna arrive. And he's like, that's my girl, and picks her up and flings her around. And so they know bitches be lying. I'm so good at this. I'm so professional. You're welcome. And now they're trying to, like, convince everyone else, clear their names, that these people are liars, are con men. So they create, like, they get Maddie involved too, because Maddie's like, yeah, that shit was not right. Like, what happened to me? Like, that was suspicious. So they create Operation Smoke Out the Rat. I think it's hilarious that Jess wrote out that name, because what does it mean? Nothing. They just come up with the name before the plan. And they send Mr. Mosby to their suite with the key so they can use it. They're in the vents. They send a bee in through the vent into his room to, like, hopefully he's running around, but unfortunately he squashes the bee before Mosby gets to the room. So then they call out that there's a Swedish bikini team, but that also gets foiled somehow. But they get Carrie involved. They're telling Carrie about it, and she's like, this is weird, guys. But then Maddie's like, no, I trust them. And she's like, you know what? Actually, I trust them too. So Carrie has Maddie dress up as Olga, the best sports masseuse she's ever met. Well, actually, she says physical therapist, but really she's doing the job of, like, a sports masseuse.
Yes.
And she is dressed up ridiculous with a big mole and big curves, and it's Raven physical comedy, and she does a funny accent where she's, like, Swedish, and she goes in to give this man a terrible, terrible massage where actually he's, like, taking it like a champ. Like, he's in pain, but he's taking it. But then Holly slips in the room on something, and he jumps out of bed and grabs her. So they can see, all of them can see that he's faking it. Mosby has entered the room at this point as well. So he knows, and he's, like, threatening to call the cops, but instead he lets them go and just told them that he called every hotel in the Boston region. And then we see Holly heading out, telling the doorman, your Wilderness Scout cookies will come in 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. That's the A-plot.
That's really the only plot in this one.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Involved.
Sorry, yeah, it is. There's no other plot.
I do have to mention that I didn't know that we would get so much vent. Like, we just get vents a lot in Disney shows. Crawling in the vents is just a thing. But
especially in this one.
In this show, I feel like Zack and Cody are in a vent in every other episode. Like,
There's another episode we're going to talk about in another podcast episode where someone's like, they have to go to the kitchen, and Zach's like, we could just use the vents. And the other person is like, we could just use the front door. And he's like, all right, guys, we have a reputation to uphold.
Yeah. I'm like, these vents must have, like, permanent damage from these freaking teenage boys crawling around them all the time. What is a Swedish bikini team, and why is everyone so excited that they just might possibly be in the hallway of this random hotel floor?
So I get the excitement. Hot Swedish babes in bikinis. What's not to love? Some Vikings in some swimwear? Hell yeah. The Swedish part they think is hot, right? Because they're physical, they're probably blonde-haired, blue eyes. What a bikini team is, I would love to know.
Yeah, like, I know you're saying, like, you get people being excited, but, like, no, if someone shouted out, and I was comfy in my hotel room, and someone was like, the bikini team is out here, I'm not getting out of bed. What the fuck's a bikini team?
I would assume there are girls in bikinis, and I would probably look through my peephole. But I want to know what they do. Like,
sure. Like, what's the purpose of their existence?
It's the team part that's confusing me. Are they swimmers? Are they models? Are they bikini skiers? Like,
ooh, I'm into that. I want them to. I would like them to be bikini skiers. That's fun. I'm into it now. I agree with you. Amanda wrote, she's seen this episode 25 times. I also have seen this episode 25 times. This one was played all the time, which like is not a bad episode, but also why?
Yeah. I also have questions like I feel like the longer we get into Sweet Life, the more episodes are either about like political lessons like our previous one, or they're about some sort of like con heist treasure finding, and most of them I don't assign to us because they're just so dumb I don't care. This one is an icon. This one was on the replays. I do think part of it is that I think Samantha Hanratty's performance is really good, and I enjoy the little twist that like actually her dad didn't teach this little girl to be a con woman. It's like her idea. And she's made jokes on TikTok about how like whenever people see her in person, they expect her to just be like evil.
That's funny.
I know.
Especially because she was like young when she was in this, very young.
I don't know that this was her only guest star role where she was kind of evil. But yeah, I think that happens to a number of young child guest stars. But yeah, it just I feel like I've seen it a lot and I enjoy it. And where do they get a bee or wasp or whatever? And how do they get it to fly in the right direction?
I feel like they live close to a park, we learned, and so I feel like they could have gotten a bee, but I agree, how do you tell the bee where to go? Like, more likely than not, if they were to release the bee would just fly back in the vent, wouldn't you think?
I was nervous about that.
Yeah. Also, I'm like, I guess I didn't pay close enough attention. Is the bee like CGI'd? Or was this an actual bee?
I'm sure it's CGI'd, but it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I just don't see like a bee being a pet actor because you can't really train a bee.
Well, they could have something to lure it, but it's flying around the room.
Yeah, I just don't know if their brains are big enough to understand being lured.
Well, instinctively, they would like, fly to the queen. That kind of, to the hive.
Okay.
But I think it was a CGI bee.
Okay.
Some quotes. They do acknowledge the fact that the boys are getting older and they live in these vents because they say, have we gotten bigger or are these vents gotten smaller?
Yeah, I liked that.
Some iconic quotes, both of which are from Maddie as Olga. This is the best part of the episode, in my opinion. You know what you know about boo-boos? Bubkiss. And there's a point where she says she's going to do a move on 3, and then she just immediately says 3 and does it, and he's like, what happened to 1 and 2? And she goes, I spit on 1 and 2.
Ashley Tisdale's like acting in this episode, I actually think it is very funny. Like she leans into the comedy of it and really commits to this ridiculous like sports masseuse character. That she sells it. She really does sell it.
I also apologize from my retelling of it. I've realized she's not doing a Swedish masseuse. She's doing a Russian masseuse.
All right. As we mentioned, again, this season is a beast. We are going to continue in season 2. We're still in the middle portion, so episodes 14 through 26 roughly. And then after that, we're going to continue season 2. I think we're still going to have another 2 episodes for you. There's 39 episodes in this season. We have a lot to talk about. We know it's a lengthy one, but we hope you are enjoying it because Sweet Life is so nostalgic. And if you are enjoying it, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also follow us on all our social media. We are 90s Babies Nostalgia. Spell out the word 90s on Instagram and YouTube. On TikTok, use the numericals there. I don't know, I said numericals and not numbers, but use them.
Valid.
And with that one, we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.